surrounded by wrestling fans. Not sports entertainment fans. Professional wrestling fans! Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up! This is
the Wrestling Matters Podcast, a podcast that stands up for professional wrestling. Why? Because wrestling matters. So join the revolution, because the revolution is now.
World, look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world. We are ICW and you're gonna know our name. Here we fucking go! Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change! Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up!
Yes! 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 Yes!
That's 13-14! Make it till death!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to ICW Podcast. That's right, ICW Podcast, presented by Wrestling Matters, of course. My name is Anthony Walker, the H, the D, here at your service once again. Hope you're going to enjoy this, because I've actually made some changes to this. This is now going to be a new format for the ICW podcast. I'm testing it on this one. I will be doing the podcast, but the same thing for this podcast on the Progress Wrestling one, which should be out tomorrow. If not, it'll be out definitely by the end of the week. I've had some issues again, so bear with me. I'm trying to catch up and trying to do the best I can. So it's, at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day, and I've had some changes, and I want to credit one Steve Dawson for these changes, because he gave me an idea on Facebook. So I'm going to execute this into there, and if you like the new format, if you like the new changes, let me know, and I'll keep on doing it. If not, I'll go back to the original format as well, and I'll be doing, like I say, I'll be doing this again for the Progress Wrestling one as well, out this week. But with that being said, ladies and gents, we'll kick off. This is long before Wesley Snipes, July 25th, the night before Shugs' Hoose Party 2, second annual. And it kicked off this week, or this match, this show at least, kicked off with Chris Renfrew against Lionheart. Now, the match was good for what it was. It was very high impact offense from both men. Both men going at each other, because these two know each other a long time, and these two have had the feud a long time as well. These two have been feuding since basically day one in the going back to the Gold Label era. These guys were at each other's throat. It was high impact offense. The downside to it in a way was Stevie was at ringside, but I guess it made it a little bit more interesting in that respect. All in all, a good match to start the show, in my opinion. Not the great. It wasn't your technical wrestling match. It was, like I say, it was very high impact, very high stuff, and very, like I say, a good way to start the show. The story of the match for me was Renfrew. He hit at least 4 stunners. From what I saw on Lionheart, it took him 4 stunners to win the match, because he ended up winning the match. Lionheart showed that he can dive as well. And he dived on Chris on the outside. He's sure you can still do that. I mean, I think Lionheart's become more risky in his offense now since he had that broken neck. You know, he's changed up his offense a little bit and been more careful in that. One of my favourite moments of the match was outside when Lionheart hit Chris with the PS1 console that he got from the fans. God's honest truth. He hit him with a PS1 console. And what I loved about it was after he hit him with the console, he opened it up, and he opened the console up and hit him with the disc that was inside. The disc inside was WWF Warzone. Straight God's honest truth. The disc inside was WWF Warzone, and he even showed it to the camera. And that was great, man. It really was. Other than that, like I said, the story of the match, there was a miscue with Stevie Boy, because Stevie Boy basically got involved. All in all, a good match to kick off the show. Lionheart, I don't know what this guy's doing in ICW, to be honest, at this moment in time, because since he came back from his neck injury and had his match with Jackie Polo at Barramania to end the feud, basically, he hasn't won a match. I mean, these two met in London, Chris and Lionheart. Chris beat him in London too. So it seems that, what's he doing? I mean, is he going to win matches? Because it seems the Lionheart that people know, even Chris knows, I'll get to that later, but it seems the Lionheart that people know is not there anymore. I mean, it's really confusing why he's lost so much, why he hasn't won a match since he's been back. It really isn't. He's been basically jobbing for most people as well, i.e. Chris and all. But other than that, I mean, Chris has definitely come a long way. I mean, I remember watching Chris. I've seen Chris on a few clips going back, and he was the same guy, but he had a little bit of weight on him. He was like a modern day Sandman back in the day. Sorry, Chris, if you hear this, but he was like a modern day Sandman back in the day. So whatever he's done from that to now has worked, because he's lost a lot of weight. He's more vicious than ever. And he's a hardcore superstar, and he's awesome. I love him, mate. I've got no issues against it. I'm a big NAK fan anyway, so I mean, NAK, no matter what you do, they keep things interesting. But all in all, a great match to kick off the show. And then after the match, they attacked Lionheart, looking to end him from that point on, but looking to end him and finish his career off once and for all. But Davey Boy came out with the Bucky Boys, spine busted Chris, looking to get out of what's his name, Stevie Boy, but Stevie Boy lured him into a trap, and then Davey Boy turned around and takes a stunner. And even Wee Man got stunned too, because Wee Man got in the face of Stevie Boy as well, but then he turned around and got stunned, and Wee Man's $150, so for him to take a stunner like that, I mean, full credit to him, because he's nowhere of the shape of Davey Boy. And if you're not prepared, like I said, I mean, I've been in the wrestling ring, if you're not prepared to take a stunner, or if you're not prepared to take the moves, you're going to get hurt. But all in all, a good way to start off the show. The next match after that was Jack Jester versus Kenny Williams. This was after Noam Dar, Grado backstage talking about Bram and their respective matches with Bram, one being at Shugs' house party and one being later on. I'll get to that later. Now, Jack Jester and Kenny Williams, two ICW originals, or two ICWs, well, Jack being the ICW original and everything, and Kenny being the ICW breakout star, and a very good star at that. This match to me was all Jack Jester. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kenny put most of the effort in, but Jack was so dominant in this match. I mean, like I said, Kenny got his offense in and got his blows in and everything, but I mean, Jack was so dominant in this match from start to finish, and he proved that the experience paid off, because Jack Jester is one of ICW's top guys. There's no question about that. He is one of the main players in ICW. Although Kenny did use his quickness and speed to get to, or get any chance of getting a chance to beat Jack Jester, Jack just proved to be too much of him, and he always seemed at the points to be one step ahead of him. And like I said, yes, Kenny got his blows in, but Jack was dominant, man. This was relatively one-sided for me. Not that one-sided, but it was more leaning towards Jack than having it been an even match and everything. It was more Jack in that respect. Jack dived. Kenny dived on Jack. He did all sorts of stuff and everything. And then Jack hit a spiked DDT, which was one of my favourite moves because he really spiked him, which is the Impaler DDT, which is you lift him up and then you drive him down like a normal DDT, except you're grabbing the tights and lifting him up and then driving him down. And Jack really did spike him on that. And then Jack hitting a leg drop. He has a very similar style to the Undertaker. I know you got the leg drop from the Undertaker. You had to have got that, but he has a very, very similar style. But yeah, all in all, it was a good match. Very good match, but very one-sided from my perspective, from my point of view, because like I say, Jack was dominant in this match. And although Kenny did come close, from what I saw, it was all Jack. I mean, a very good match nonetheless. Just a quick thing, I want to give a rating to Chris's, I want to give a 3 to that match, to Chris and Lionheart's match. I'll give this a 3.5 as well. There was a lot more other stuff as well in the match, but as far as Jack Jester's come, when he won the ICW Championship of Mikey Whiplash at Fear and Loathing show, that changed his life. I mean, he was a major player for ICW anyway, but he hadn't found that breakout moment. And then when he got the opportunity to become ICW champion and he beat Mikey Whiplash at the Fear and Loathing show, you know, the shit took off from there, and he had a year-long title reign, because he lost it a year later at the Fear and Loathing show against Drew Galloway. I mean, this guy has just, you know, he's elevated his career, and then he took time off after that match at Fear and Loathing to Drew Galloway, and he's gone away, and then he came back, and I believe it was in Nottingham, because he made an appearance after the Grado Drew Galloway match, and he seems to be more ruthless than what he was the first time around. He seems to be a little bit more ruthless than what he was, and he seems to have changed his style and upped his game just that little bit more, which is good for him. But no doubt, when he beat Mikey Whiplash, no doubt that took him to a whole new level in ICW, no doubt about that. As for Kenny Williams, this guy's come a hell of a long way. Like I say, he's one of ICW's breakout stars. I mean, this guy at one point was a Sabasco. He used to come in and fill in for people, and then he became, sorry Kenny if you listen to this, he was James R. Kennedy's bitch at one point during the Kennedy administration. And then the moment that he broke out as a star, I mean, we already knew he was a star anyway, but the moment that put him on the map as a star was when he beat Mark Coffey for the 0G title. And then he broke away from the Kennedy administration, and then the shit just took off from there. And he's been one of my favourite people to watch. I love his theme song. Huey Lewis, the theme song from Back to the Future. Love it. And like I say, I mean, credit to him for getting away from that, and he's proved that he can do that. And he's proved, I mean, he's one of ICW's breakout stars. He may very well be the top breakout star in ICW. I don't know. Because there's a lot of stars. I mean, ICW have got a lot of stars, a lot of future talent, a lot of great talent on the roster. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you have to see that for you. I mean, that's a debatable point in itself. But Kenny Williams has definitely come a long way. And all in all, like I say, a 3.5 rating for the match. But in my opinion, it was relatively one-sided. It was all Jack, because Jack was dominant in the match, in my opinion. The next match after that was Noam Dar versus Bram. Now, I said that the previous match, in a way, was one-sided. Not a lot one-sided, but one-sided nonetheless. This match was definitely one-sided. This was all Noam Dar from the start. All Noam Dar. One-sided match. Yes, again, Bram got his blows in, but this was definitely more one-sided than the previous match for me. Noam Dar kicked off. He hit Bram twice with a dive. He dived on Bram twice and took out Kid Fight and James R. Kennedy in the process. He just basically used his quickness, and like I said many times, and I say this on the Progress Wrestling Podcast too, this guy, he has elevated his stuff. I mean, he's always focused on quickness. Yes, he's an X Division style wrestler, but he's always focused on his quickness and everything, but he's more technical than his quickness, because he's always very technical in what he does as far as his wrestling goes. But other than that, I mean, he used his power as well in this match. I mean, at one point he hit Bram with a German suplex, and then he hit a Northern Lights suplex. And I'll tell you this right now, Bram's no ragdoll. Bram's a big guy, and for him to do that, I mean, credit to him. And like I say, from start to finish, he just proved himself all the way. And like I say, it was very, very one-sided match. One of my favourite moments of the match was the fuck TNA chants directed at Bram as he was coming out with his entrance. And then Billy Kirkwood at one point said the 55 were as popular as Hulk Hogan at Def Comedy Jam, which was fuck. I swear, why haven't ICW got their TV shows? Could somebody answer me that, please? Seriously, ICW needs to be on TV. But I know for a fact they'd put them on at evening time and daytime and everything. So, but if there's any networks out there, please put ICW on TV, please, because Kirkwood's so funny. There was a Shite George Michael chant, which is something that Mr. James R. Kennedy's very used to. Shite George Michael, indeed. But one of the key things about this match, about Noam Dar, and not just in this match, and every matches that he wrestles, whether it's in ICW or even in Progress Wrestling, which I'll get to tomorrow on the Wednesday show sometime this week, he always seems, no matter who it is, whether it's Bram or whether it's someone his size, he always seems to work the legs to set up for the leg bar, or as Progress Wrestling call it, the Champagne Super Knee Bar. He always works on the legs, no matter what he's doing. He kicks them, Charlie horses it, double stomp off the top rope, double stomp off whatever ropes he's on. He always works on the leg in this match. That's why he's known for his technical ability as well. And he's a great wrestler, no doubt. And you wouldn't think I think he's only 21-year-old. I think he's only 21-year-old. 21-ish, 22, somewhere around about that. And he's only young. And his future is, the only way is up for Noam Dar, seriously. Yes, Kennedy and Kid Fight got involved, but like I say, the match was all Noam Dar, and I mean, it was proven that because 1 minute before the end, it was all Noam Dar, and then Bram got a shot in, and then hit him with the DDT and got the victory. His Impaler DDT, the move that Jack used earlier on in the night. He hit him with that and got the victory, and that proved that it was all Noam Dar, because 1 minute before the end, it took Bram, even though he was trying to get his offense in, but it never would last more than 5 minutes, and then Bram got the DDT towards the end and everything, and got the match. I mean, I would have to give this a 3 out of 5, man, because like I say, it was all Noam Dar. It was very, very, very one-sided. A good match, but it was a Noam Dar showcase match, because it was all Noam Dar from start to the point where Bram got the DDT and got the victory. You know, after the match they also put a post-match beatdown, and then Grado comes out to make the save, and then they start beating down on Grado, and the GM comes out and puts him in a match with Darkseid. He says, "You want to come out and be the hero? Well, you've got a match right now, and you've got a match with Darkseid." And as for that match, we'll get to that now. Darkseid 1-on-1 with Grado. Again, all Darkseid in this match. This was a very short match. Wasn't as long as the previous matches, but it was very, very, very short. Darkseid comes out and just picks up where the 55 and the GM left off, basically, and beating down Grado. Isolated Grado. Yes, Grado got his shots in at the end. One point as well of how much I would have to give this match a rating of a 3 as well, because like I said, it was all Darkseid as well. Yes, Grado got his blows in. For example, he dived on Darkseid outside the ring off a guardrail, and that was one of my favourite points of the match. And he hit a GTS move. Darkseid hit a GTS move, which instead of using the knees, he just kicks him in the face. You know, lifts him up, gets him in like a GTS move, and then instead of hitting him with the knee, he just kicks him square in the face. Like a karate kick, like an enziguri kind of kick in the face and everything. But like I said, this again was just all one-sided, because Darkseid was more controlling of the match, and then it got to the point where Darkseid made a mistake off the ropes, and then I think he was going for a move off the top rope. Grado rolled out the way and hit him with a wee boot and got the victory. But like I say, all one-sided. Darkseid and Grado doing his thing and all. Darkseid is coming, as far as Darkseid coming a long way. I don't know what this guy's doing anymore, to be honest with you, in ICW, because at one point he was a member of the New Age Clique, and then he took a year off, and now he's just come back on his own, and he's his own man and everything, and I can't figure out what to do with the guy. I mean, Darkseid is a great wrestler, there's no doubt about that. MMA background, judo background as well, as you can tell from his offense with some of the judo throws that he does, but I don't know where this guy's going. I think him going away from ICW may have killed his momentum the way he did. I don't know. Sometimes you take time off, sometimes you know it works out for you, and then sometimes it doesn't. But I mean, in my opinion, it didn't work out for him, because I don't know where he is, I don't know where he stands. All I know is right now he's his own man at the moment. As for Grado, well, if you've seen Shugs' house party, you know how far this guy's come, because a lot of people, according to him, his promo at Shugs' house party, a lot of people were questioning where he stands with ICW, because let's face it, he wrestles all over the place. This guy's a very demanding guy. He's a former PWE champion. He held that belt for a year. He's wrestled in TNA. He's wrestled all over the place. He's even wrestled here in the Northeast. He's very, very, very demanding guy, and he's very, very demanding wrestler too, and people want Grado. And he's made appearances in TNA, and a lot of people were questioning him and his status with ICW. I mean, in this one, when was the last time you seen Grado do a dive off a guardrail. And I mean, if you've seen what he did at Shugs' house party on the Bram, diving off the stage. I mean, if you haven't seen it, go and find it and go and watch the show. I mean, holy moly, 15 feet dive that he did. Oh my God. I mean, if that doesn't tell you, he can't wrestle, but he's made for the proper circumstances, the Madonna theme song, the Madonna entrance, and he's dancing and everything. And it seems at the rate ICW was going at this moment in time, he may very well be, he was PWE champion, PWE, which is Pro Wrestling Elite, and that is owned by Lionheart. Yes, you heard me, Lionheart. Maybe he is going down the way that he had, or the title run that he had with PWE. Maybe he's going to get exactly the same with ICW as well. We'll have to wait and see. But that'll hopefully all be coming of Fear and Loathing. I don't know if he's going to get that shot, because there's a lot of people lining up to take a shot at, or to have a title shot at Drew Galloway, not just Grado, but we'll have to wait and see where it goes. I hope he does get the shot, to be honest with you, because he deserves to be champion. He's already been interim champion of ICW, but I think it's now time to get him and get that spot and get him to be the ICW champion. But all in all, like I say, it was a 3 out of 5 match for me, and it was very one-sided. It was all dark side for most of the match, and then Grado won it. And like I say, it wasn't that much of the match, because it was a very short match. But all in all, a good match for the time they had. And yes, Grado won. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of part 1 of this ICW, the new formatted ICW podcast, tested formatted ICW podcast. Stay tuned after this quick time out, and I'll be back with part 2. So stay tuned. Be sure to tune in each and every Wednesday for the Progress Wrestling Podcast. That's right, each and every week on Wednesdays, for the time being at least, I will be reviewing their shows from their on-demand service, Demand Progress. So be sure to check out the hottest promotion to come out of London. That's right, it's Progress Wrestling. This is Progress. This is a podcast on Progress. Every Wednesday on SoundCloud, YouTube, OSW TV, and every other podcasting site that matters. Be sure to check it out. Wrestling matters, wrestling fans. Be sure to tune in every single Tuesday now for the Wrestling Matters Podcast Extra, where I'll be hosting a podcast on one promotion and one promotion only. ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, the hottest promotion in Scotland. Well, I'll be reviewing their shows. Oh my God! Talking ICW.
That's 1314!
And who knows, maybe getting some guests on. So be sure to tune in to the Wrestling Matters Podcast Extra ICW Podcast, Insane Championship Wrestling, every Tuesday on YouTube, Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, downloaded free at iTunes, Mixcloud, and SoundCloud. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans.
World, look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world. We are ICW and you're gonna know our name.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the newly formatted ICW podcast. My name is Anthony Walker, HED, he for the Wrestling Matters podcast. Hope you're enjoying this new format. And without further ado, we'll kick off part 2 and talk about part 2. Now, during the interval, it showed a promo with Polo Promotions coming in drunk out of their heads and, coming in for the party. Because they thought, and then they invade the actual show, because before, as Wolfgang was coming out, they cut the music off because they were coming in the crowd, and it was Chris Toll, Jackie Polo, Mark Coffey, and Coach Tripp, and they were coming in the ring completely mortal out of their heads, and they had a good night, good drink. Probably my favourite part of this segment was the little mess about fight that they had, because they were that drunk, they thought that they'd have a match kind of thing, like a little mess about fight, and Jackie Polo was wearing a Jurassic Park t-shirt, and Coach Tripp was wearing a boxer shorts, whatever you want to call them, Baywatch shorts, which was just quality quality at its best. And then the security came in, probably out of orders of the ICW GM, Red Lightning, and ruined the whole thing, basically. And then Jackie Polo hit Polo slams, and it was there from then. They got taken out, and that was the end of that. And then it was supposed to be a match with Wolfgang versus Dickie Divers, but the match didn't take place because as the NAK were coming out, which was Wolfgang, Stevie Boy, and Chris Renfrew, as they were coming out, Dickie came out from the curtain and whacked them all with canes. And Dickie just put a big down on him with a kendo stick and everything, and then it got to a point where Stevie Boy grabbed out of the kendo stick to distract Dickie, and then Wolfgang hit him with brass knucks, and then it was a big down from there on in. Wolfgang and Stevie Boy held him for Chris Renfrew to hit him with a cane, but Chris Renfrew didn't want to knock him out. The crowd were chanting, Divers is going to die, Divers is going to die, but Chris didn't want to end it there. You wanted to save it for tomorrow at the Shugs host party, and he said he'll end it there. And yeah, it was just basically, the whole segment in a way was just a build up for the ICW show tomorrow night when they have a match, when they have the ladder match, which was fine. And that was about it on that segment. And Divers ended up going to the back, and the announcer, William Roach, I think his name is, who was supposed at one point was Dickie Divers' partner. The NAK invited him in the ring to do something, but he got in the ring, stepped through the ropes, and then went back to the announce booth again. So basically, it's what he's been doing since Divers since Divers turned his back on Chris at the square goal when he won the square goal. Divers has been getting beat downs as of late, and he's improved as a wrestler, there's no doubt. But considering what's took place with the change and everything, and since he's won the square goal, maybe him leaving. Do anybody reckon that him leaving the NAK was a bad idea? You know, because he seems to be the Lone Ranger now, and maybe it's Divers' time. I don't know, but considering what happened at Square Go, maybe this change was a bad idea. I don't know. That's just my opinion on Divers, but he's come a long way since back in the day and everything, and he has relatively improved. And Devious Dickie Divers, I believe some people nicknamed him. As for Wolfgang, he has definitely come a long way since turning on Divers at Barramania and joining the NAK. He has now become this big, bad, badass wolf that he is, and he has his entrance music resembles James Storm in TNA. You know when he was with Revolution. I swear, go back and listen to the music, both of them, and it's like a resemblance of it. But it's more. I think it's more better than that. But it does. They both the entrance musics both resemble each other, but the wrestlers don't, as we well know, because they're both entirely different great wrestlers in the process. And yeah, he is now the big bad wolf of the NAK. The next match that eventually was a wrestling match after the fiasco with Dickie and Wolfgang was one Joe Coffey against Lewis Garvin. Now, for the first 5 minutes of the match, this was a technical wrestling match. These two were shading hold for hold, move for move, just showing what great wrestlers they were. And they both are great wrestlers, no doubt. And then after the 5 minutes, it went from what was a technical wrestling match to a flat-out brawl, basically. Hard-hitting offense, hard chops from Joe. But it seemed during that, that Lewis was trying to keep it his style. He was trying to keep it a wrestling match, which in a way kind of worked, but when you're trying to wrestle someone who's had focus on Sha Samuels all night, basically, and basically didn't see Lewis Garvin, he was looking at Sha Samuels, it's very difficult to control that. I mean, don't get me wrong, Lewis is a great wrestler, but is he that good? Probably not. But like I say, especially when Joe Coffey's in the form that he is. All in all, though, it was a good match. 35 minutes. I would say it was more like 10 to 15 minute match. 10 to 15, maybe 12 minute match-ish. Round about that time. It wasn't as long as I'd have thought. I thought it'd been about 20 minutes at least, but it wasn't. So, all in all, it was a great match. A good match, rather. I would give it a 3. Could have been better if they had a little bit more time. There was no, favourite points of the match for me, because it was a hard-hitting. Like I said, it was just, basically, it just covered everything I've just said there in that. Joe Coffey has definitely come a long way from being a member of the Coffee Brothers with his brother Mark, who's now in Polo Promotions, a member of that with Lewis Scott, to being this Iron Man and this badass wrestler and coming out with the Iron Man gimmick and pounding his chest and that. So, I mean, but other than that, he's been a great wrestler, and he's definitely kept his game up as well, because, you know, he bust his ass at Barramania to get to Barramania and face Drew Galloway. He lost. Many people thought he was going to go down the pecking order of that, but he didn't. He kept on picking up wins after that match as well. And when you go to Barramania or go to a show and face the champion and lose, you expect to maybe lose that focus and lose that momentum. He didn't, and credit to him for that. Lewis Garvin has definitely come a long way since he faced Drew Galloway for the title, because it was at one point he was calling out Drew Galloway left, right and centre, and ever since then he has upped his game. He got big wins over Wolfgang before Wolfgang joined the New Age Clique and that. But he always seems, from matches I've seen him with, he's always seemed to come up short on a few of them, especially in this match as well with Joe. But other than that, that doesn't take nothing away from Lewis Garvin being a great wrestler, a great technical wrestler as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the road this guy does fulfill his dream and becomes Zero-G champion. Will he become world champion? Maybe not. If he's going to get a belt, I'd probably see him with a tag team belt, but you'd have to find a tag team partner first. But if he's going to stay single, a singles wrestler, I could see him being Zero-G champion before some point as well, because he'd be great for that belt if he's used right as well. And not knocking Mark Dallas, he's used all his talent right, and Vince McMahon could take some notes off him. But before long, it wouldn't be surprising if Lewis Garvin becomes Zero-G champion at some point. Other than that, 3 out of 5 for the match. It was a good match for the time they had and everything, and all in all, good stuff as well. After the match, Joe cut a promo and called out GM, but GM mocked him. He said he was going to get in the ring and then changed his mind and walked away. Basically made an ass out of Joe Coffey. But sooner or later, GM has to step up his game and step it up and face the man, because he's not going to get away with his abuse of power, so to speak. And he will face Joe Coffey at one point, because you know it's going to happen at some point, just a case of when though. And then after the match, it showed you a clip outside that the stag party was still going on, Prolo Promotion still being mortal out of their heads, and Chris Toll and that, who's the little midget, the little guy who hangs around with Mark Dallas, and they were still raising hell, even though they got kicked out the show. The next match was Kid Fight against Aaron Echo. Aaron Echo being relatively new, making his debut against his teacher. Yes, Kid Fight did train this guy. And Aaron Echo put on a good show, but it was mainly dominated by Kid Fight after Kid Fight attacked Aaron Echo while he was doing his entrance. Aaron put up a good fight, put up a good performance for his first match in ICW. And it was all, I mean, he did put in some good shots. I'll say what he did. He had a beautiful drop kick. He had a forearm to Kennedy, and also a spinning forearm which rocked Kid Fight, rocked him. I think on one, if it had been anybody else, he'd have probably been knocked out. And then a pump handle slam, and he also kicked out of DOA, which I'll get to later. But yeah, relatively good performance, but again, it was mostly dominated by Kid Fight and Kid Fight's experience, basically taking this guy to the woodshed, so to speak, letting people know you don't stand up to the 55. All in all, for the time they had, it was a short match, not as long as most of the other matches on the card. It was a good match, and like I say, Aaron put up a good fight in a losing effort on his first match in ICW. Kid Fight has definitely come a long way since teaming with Liam Thompson. You know, there was a solo run as a babyface and everything, and then the heel turn at Square Go when he turned on Grado in the Square Go match, which ultimately basically formed the 55 movement that he's in now. And ever since then, he's definitely upped his game. He's become more intense. He's not that babyface, guy anymore. He's more ruthless since joining the 55, and whatever it is that he's doing and everything, it seems to be working for him, and it is very much working for him as well. But like I say, not much to really talk about in this match, because like I say, it was very one-sided, and Aaron Echo's debut was, but I'll give this match a 3. It was relatively good for the time they had, and like I say, it was relatively one-sided match, with Kid Fight getting the victory with the DOA, and but all in all, a good effort for Aaron, and no doubt he'll be back in ICW very, very, very soon. contract signing. Nothing really much went down in this contract signing, to be honest. The contract signing was what it was, a contract signing. Red Lightning comes out on behalf of ICW and that, and gets the two to sign with the referees and security, and separating them and allowing them to sign the contracts. And then after that, Red Lightning turned around and went, you can do what the fuck you want now, because now that stops them from suing ICW or suing the GM or whatever. And then Mikey cut a promo on BT saying that it was personal, and BT had made it personal. And then Chris took it a new level really on behalf of BT Gone by bringing out Jam O'Malley, who was being brought out by Wolfgang and Stevie Boy. And for those of you that don't know, Jam O'Malley was the sidekick in a way to Mikey Whiplash back in the day. Back in the day when Whiplash was wearing, clothes that made him look like a nun out of a church. But back then, and they proceeded to cut his hair, and Mikey Whiplash stood there in shock and then turned around and just laughed it off. Then he attacks BT, attacks Chris Renfrew, and then all the NAK come in and put a beat down on him. And just as they were about to, just as Wolfgang was about to put him through the table, I would imagine with a spear. Speaking of a spear, the master of the spear comes out and puts an end to it and makes a save on behalf of him, on behalf of Mikey, and saves and chases the NAK away, which was all seamless because Rano the following night at Shugs' Hoose party went one-on-one with Wolfgang of the NAK. So that was basically a little bit of a setup to their match the following night. And then Rano cuts a promo saying how he was the last ECW World Heavyweight Champion, not the regurgitated shit from WWE, the original ECW Champion, and how much he wanted to be the ICW champion. And in an ECW style promo, calls out Drew Galloway for a world title match, and then Drew accepts. And after that as well, as Rano made the save, I forgot to mention, Whiplash dives on the NAK out of nowhere. And then, as you know, it led to the promo with Rano making the save and everything, and led to the promo which he called him out. And Drew, like I say, answered the call. As for the World Heavyweight Championship match between Drew Galloway and Rano and Drew Galloway, they kicked it off on the outside. It took them 2 minutes to get back in the ring. And eventually they did. They went back outside again. But this wasn't a wrestling match, guys. It took them to the last 12 minutes of the match. The last 12 minutes of the match to make it a wrestling match for me. And then Drew wrestled him in that. But for the majority, these went 25 minutes. And for the majority of the match, they went outside in the crowd on the streets of Glasgow, Merry Hill, wherever that place was. And, Rano was throwing him into the... throwing Drew into the shopping shelters, and vice versa as well. This was just a straight up fight for up until the last 12 minutes of the match, and it was just one big huge fight. And there was one point in that match where Drew was saying fuck you to Rano, hits him with a chop, and then fuck you to the camera. I'll get to that in a second, but it was just a complete fight. And Damo was at ringside as well in the commentary position because he was pissed off that Rano was getting the shot, or Drew that allowed it. And he just basically saw, like I say, a fight. And then eventually got back into the ring, and it was just one big huge fight. And the highlight of the match was Drew kicking out of the gore, because the look on Rano's face was priceless, and you can actually see that on the ICW online on YouTube. And as they came back in as well, Drew spat water in the face of Damo. Now, considering what happened with the heel turn at Shugs' Hoose Party 2 when Drew joined forces with Jack Jester and Damo, you could see in this match that this was the start of that heel turn, because he was saying, even though the crowd were even, there was some supporting Drew and there was some supporting Rano. You could see in this match that there was a heel turn coming. With all the fuck yous to the crowd, the fuck you to the camera, the fuck you to Rano, the fuck you in the face of Damo after he spat water in his face, all that, which eventually ended up culminating into what happened the next night with that heel turn, which I'll get to and talk about on another show. The match ended with the gore. After Drew kicked out the gore, Rano went for a second attempt, and Drew countered and hit the future shot to retain. But as that was happening, Damo comes in and hits Drew with the belt, the World Heavyweight Championship belt. And then he's standing over Drew Galloway and then walks away. And well, he doesn't walk away because Rhino gets in his face. Rhino gets in his face, and I don't know, there was something going down with him, like a talk going down. And then Rhino pushes Damo out the way and goes through. And then Rhino stands up and holds the ICW World Heavyweight Championship belt in the air. Now, where this is going, I don't know, but hopefully, if ICW are listening to this, Rhino, ICW World Heavyweight Champion. I'm guessing you'll have to do that if you'll have to leave NXT for it, because at the moment right now, Rhino's in NXT. But you know, I'd like to, me personally speaking as a fan, I would actually like to see that Rhino as a ICW World Heavyweight Champion. Because let's face it, there's always been some semblance of ICW to the old ECW back in the day and everything, and Rhino's a perfect fit for ICW. He really is. Will they eventually put the belt on him? Will Matt Dallas say, okay, we'll put the belt on Rhino and see where that goes? I highly doubt it, but speaking as a fan, I would like to see that. As far as Drew Galloway goes, he has came a long way since leaving WWE. Since he was in WWE as the Chosen One, former Intercontinental Champion, former Tag Team Champion with Cody Rhodes, and then being this 3MB moron. Now he is who he is right now. I mean, what you're seeing right now, Drew Galloway when he's in ICW, Evolve, TNA, whatever, he is not the same guy he once was. This is not Drew McIntyre you're seeing. This is Drew Galloway. This is the guy. And in my opinion, this is how he should have been in WWE. But hey, thank God he is who he is right now, because he is a professional wrestler. And a damn good one at that, despite what people may say about it. But all in all, I'm going to give this match a 4 out of 5, because like I say, for the majority of the match, it was just a straight up fight. And then it got down to the last 12 minutes, and it ended up being a wrestling match. You know, Galloway being allowed to use his wrestling ability to wrestle Rhino, and yeah, and this was also the start of the heel turn for Galloway as well, which, you know, culminated to what happened the next night at Shugs' Hoose Party. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of this new formatted ICW podcast presented by Wrestling Matters. Hope you have enjoyed it. Give me feedback on it if you can. Do you like this? Do you want me to go back to the old format? At the end of the day, this wasn't my idea to do this. I don't take credit for this idea. I take all the credit goes to Steve Dawson for this. I will be doing this on the Progress Wrestling Podcast as well. So, Steve Dawson, if you're listening to this, which I'm sure you are, because I will send you this, okay, I want your feedback, mate. This is your idea. Is this working? Please, give me feedback. Please. You know, if this is working, and if there's any more ideas you have to improve, please. Feedback is welcome, not just on here, not just on the podcast that I do, also on the Games Matter stuff as well. Feedback makes me better at what I do. It makes me better. And that's what I want. I want to be great. I don't want to be half-assed. I want to be the best at what I can be. I want to make this the best it can be. And I can't do that without feedback. Not just with Steve Dawson as well, guys, with you guys listening as well. You know, get in touch with me on Facebook, facebook.com/WM Podcast, at WM Podcast on Twitter, or at Tony_Walker on Twitter as well. Get in touch with me, leave me feedback, because it helps me improve and makes this better for you guys to listen to as well. So Steve Dawson, I'll be expecting some feedback since this was your idea. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anthony Walker, the HD at the end of the D. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, peace out.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up!
Yes! 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 Yes!
That's 13-14!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line! Cause Stone Cold